Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review the Jennifer Lawrence led and Francis Lawrence directed film Red Sparrow, which is about a ballerina who's convinced to go into a life of being a spy in Russia. And when I saw the first trailers for this, I was pretty excited. It looked really interesting. I'm not the world's biggest fan of Jennifer Lawrence. I do really enjoy her in certain roles, but the definitely her work in the X-Men films has really turned me off because you can tell she really doesn't want to do it. And it's been interesting seeing some of the other roles that she's been picking recently, especially with Mother and then this film. And I have to say, this film is, the thing is, it has a lot of potential, and this could have been a really, really, really great film, and it's still a good film. It just has a lot of flaws to it, a lot of things drawing it back from being what it could have been. And this is doesn't have to do with the directing. A lot of it has to do with the writing, honestly, and that's Justin Heath, who wrote this film. And looking at this film, you go in, this film is 2 hours and 20 minutes, and honestly, it's probably at least 20 minutes too long. Because you look at the story that's going on, and like a lot of spy films, there's a lot of stuff going on, there's subplots. There is legitimately a 20-minute subplot that really did not need to be in this film, and really takes you out of the film. And that's a big stretch where it's just like, why am I here? And really looking at that piece of the film, that's what sticks out to me, is really taking back from this. And there's some pacing issues throughout because it is very methodical, and when you have situations where you're sitting there, it's like, what's this have to do with the rest of the film? You're thinking, why am I sitting here through all of this? And honestly, that subplot too, it takes away, including performances. It's a subplot that has to do with Mary Louise Parker, and she's not very good in that, and she sticks out like a sore thumb in this movie, because overall this film's very tense. Francis Lawrence brings a very ominous, dreading tone throughout this film, and there's not a lot of humor or anything like that to really cut the tension. So this is a really tense film, and it's dark, and Francis Lawrence is able to keep that tonally for the most part, except for this part, and it just felt out of place and weird. And then with the pacing issues, but Francis Lawrence does an interesting job of trying to balance everything that he's given in this screenplay. And there's certain scenes that there's so much tension. There's scenes where I had to turn my head because I could barely take what was going on screen, because there's a lot of torture scenes. There's a lot of very sexual scenes in this film as well. So this is actually a very hard R film. So anybody looking to go see this, please realize that going in, because there's very sexual scenes, and there's scenes where there's a lot of gore, and it goes places. Now, what got me really excited, the first 10 to 15 minutes of this film is absolutely amazing. And it balances great tension. Joe Willems, who does the cinematography for this film, this is a gorgeous film, unbelievably well shot, has this very dark, stark look to it. And it really is throughout the whole entire film. And this beginning part uses great camera work. It incorporates, it sets up some brutality that, okay, I'm expecting this for the rest of the film. I understand where this film's going. And if the rest of this film was like the first 15 minutes of this film, this would have blown me away, and this definitely would have been my top films of the year so far. But unfortunately, it doesn't keep that up. And there's a lot of exposition scenes, and by the end they have to be like, oh, remember this scene, and kind of stuff like that, and it kind of takes away from the mystery, because it's like, well, now time to explain everything right in front of you. And it's not done in a very sleek or clever way, because say Steven Soderbergh with his Oceans movies, he does that all the time. He did that at the end of every single one of them, but it's so sleek and interesting and from different perspectives. This is just like, you remember these lines, ha, this is important, kind of thing. And I do have to say this film is unpredictable and goes into interesting places, and I don't want to give away like the mystery of all the spy stuff going on, but it's a very interesting film. It has an interesting story. It just loses its way at certain parts. And the music in this film is unbelievably amazing, and James Newton Howard does such a great job with the score for this. And he's a very talented composer. I love the work that he has done with M. Night Shyamalan, and here it's fantastic. It's one of his best in years, and it really elevates certain scenes, including that opening sequence that I was talking about. And this is just so much potential. The more I sit on it, I do really enjoy this film for the most part. And then there's scenes that just don't work. To talk about the performances, though, just to wrap this up a bit, is Jennifer Lawrence is very powerful, very sexy, and very intense. The issue is her Russian accent is a bit iffy throughout parts of it, which kind of takes you out of the film. But then Joel Edgerton is fantastic, does a really good job. Matthias Schoenaerts, I hope I said that right, plays her uncle, and he's great. He does a really fantastic job in this film. Jeremy Irons and Charlotte Rampling have smaller roles in this film, but do really good with what they're given. And like I said before, Mary Louise Parker kind of just like, why are you here? In so many different ways, why are you here? But would I watch more films about this character and from Francis Lawrence, honestly? Yeah, I would. I would just hope that the next time around they would focus a little bit more and stay more focused instead of getting bogged down in a lot of stuff. But overall, it's a bit overlong and a bit overstuffed, but still it's a very tense thriller, and it is rather effective. It hits on a lot of places, and I'm going to give Red Sparrow a B-.